What up, guys? Bench Buddies are back with my March Madness ranking all the 68 teams that made it into this year's tournament. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button down below. Starting through 68 through 61, this is where you find all the 16 seeds and a few 15 seeds. Wagner actually just beat Howard as I'm making this. It's in between that Colorado State Virginia game. So Wagner is moving on where Howard is out of the tournament already. These teams here, I think if you want to look at the team that can make an upset here, I think probably Wagner getting UNC. It's a good matchup for those teams. They can compete against each other, and Wagner likes to play a slow defensive game, and that could get UNC out of their rhythm. But then if you want to look at another one, I think Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers against Marquette. Marquette's kind of struggled in recent weeks, kind of limping into the tournament for being a 2 seed. But, anything can happen. It's March. 60 through 53. This is where you find the other 15 seeds, almost all the 14 seeds, and then a 13, 12, and 11. The 14 seeds, Oakland, Morehead State, and Akron, make up 59, 58, and 57. And, there is a team here that I think can turn ahead, and I think that's going to be the Morehead State team. They have looked pretty good this year in the Ohio Valley Conference, winning their conference tournament to get in, going 26-8. They get Illinois against Terrence Shannon, which is going to be a tough draw. But if they can limit his production, this Morehead State team could possibly pull off an upset. And then another team that I'm looking at, that team at the bottom, the 11 seed out of the A10, really shocking the world, getting to this tournament, getting BYU, which I think is an easier draw. And why not? Why can't they pull off of the 11-6 upset? Like there is one every year. They're a team that is to watch out for as well. But give props to all these other teams for winning your conference tournaments to get in. 52 through 45. This is where you get your first two teams that got at-large bids in Virginia and Texas A&M at 49 and 47. Virginia about to play Colorado State, which should be a great game. And then you have the other three 13 seeds, and Vermont, Yale, and Samford. And there's one on here in my bracket that I have pulling off an upset, and that is Samford. And that was even before Kevin McCullough was ruled out for the tournament. And I think Samford just matches up well. Kansas is struggling. Now they don't have McCullough. It's not looking good here for Kansas, but Samford 29-5, playing really good this year out of that Southern Conference. And why not for an upset? But another upset you could be looking at, teams at 46 and 45. Grand Canyon going to play St. Mary's in the western side. That should be a great game. And then NC State against Texas Tech. NC State, scraping into the tournament, winning 5 straight games to get in, to winning their ACC. And why not? They get a favorable matchup, I think. I think it's going to be a coin flip game, just like they've played in the ACC tournaments. And that one's really up for grabs. 44 through 37. Now, this is where you find some teams that were bubble teams that got in and some teams that win their conference. The 10 seeds, especially Drake winning the Missouri Valley. And then you have Boise State and Nevada out of the Mountain West playing well enough to get in, and Boise State in the bubble playing tomorrow night against Colorado. And then Oregon winning the Pac-12 championship, getting in and stealing a bid from someone on that bubble. And they get South Carolina. And I think Oregon could be a team to watch out for that could make a Sweet 16, possible Elite 8 run, because they've done it so many times before with their head coach. He knows how to get there and get deep into this tournament. But McNeese, Will Wade, the coach from LSU, is now the coach at McNeese. And what a great first year training this whole program, around 30-3 this year. And they get Gonzaga, and Gonzaga hasn't been as good as they've been in previous years. And little preview, that's another upset I'm taking. I'm taking McNeese over Gonzaga. I just think that they match up very well. And, they can hang with the big boys, McNeese, because Will Wade knows how to coach against the big teams. 36 through 29. This is where you get all the teams that were at large that made the tournament. I think the one that is kind of surprising to me here for being this low, I think is Dayton. I know Dayton I think they should be a little higher than a 7 seed. And I don't want to say Texas, but Texas should be a little lower. Michigan State, I think, should be a little lower too. I think this should have been a 10, possibly even a play-in team, going 19-14. I just think that there's some better teams that could have been moved up ahead of them, but they're still here in the tournament. And that means Michigan State is primed to make a Sweet 16 run, because when they're lower seeds, it feels like they just play better as a team and advance farther rather than recent years. But then you have FAU, who Final Four team last year, struggled towards the month of February, but they've started to figure it out now, heading into the tournament, getting Northwestern. And then Clemson, I think Clemson's a team that no one's really talking about. If they can beat New Mexico, that's another coin flip game. Clemson, might be the team that could fly under the radar and bust some brackets. 28 through 21. Now, here's some dark horse candidates that I think could make a run. Colorado State, New Mexico, and Utah State all out of the Mountain West. I think there's going to be a Mountain West team that makes another deep run in this tournament. And that team for me, I think could be New Mexico. If I had to pick one right now, I think New Mexico would be that team. They have the easier side of a bracket to get to a Sweet 16 and to an Elite Eight. I just think that this team is just poised to make that run. They won the conference tournament, getting in and making that run, and they're hot right now. And you got to look at teams that are hot going into the tournament, where you have the team at 21, Kansas, who is not hot at all, struggling. Just announced McCullough's not even playing in the tournament, and Samford is going to be looking for that. They smell blood in the water already. And Texas Tech is a team where out of the Big 12, didn't really do too much this year, didn't exceed expectations, but still made the tournament here, and they're ranked 22 for me. And Wisconsin as well. I think they're on upset alert because this team has struggled in February to then. I know they had a good run in the Big Ten tournament, but don't let that fool you. This team still has 13 losses, 20 through 13. Now, this is your sleeper picks to win March Madness. And I think one I like here is that 13. I think St. Mary's could be a Final Four bound team. They're in UNC's side of the bracket. And, why not? Why not pick a West Coast Conference team to at least make an Elite Eight run, possible Final Four? I think St. Mary's is that team to look out for. And they get Grand Canyon, which is a tough matchup. And if they can get past them, then I think this team is really battle tested and to go far, because we've seen this team in previous years do good, but this team this year isn't as good as the other teams have been. Then you have Duke and Kentucky at 16 and 15. I think they can get past their first round games, but the second round is going to be where both of these teams are going to have some problems playing some better competition, as they've kind of just ho-hum, just got their way into the tournament. Haven't been playing the best basketball, but this team, if they can turn it on at the right time, both of those teams can make deep runs. And then South Carolina at 20, that January, February, they were dominating. And then towards the end of February, March, they kind of struggled a little bit, kind of lost their footing in the SEC. And they have a tough matchup against Oregon, obviously coming in off the Pac-12 championship. 12 through 5. I think this is where I have my winner. I'll let you guys wait till I break down my bracket, but my winner is in this 12 through 5 here. And the teams I'm looking out for here that could make deep runs that aren't getting enough love, I think Creighton's a team. They have size and they can match up against anybody. Marquette, Iowa State, and Illinois, and even Arizona, all those teams take over a game, because Arizona and Illinois have two guys that can take over a game. Arizona with Caleb Love, and Illinois with Terrence Shannon Jr. Those guys can take over, and they have some good coaches there. For Marquette, Shaka Smart, he knows how to make a deep run. Obviously, he did that with VCU a long time ago, so he knows how to make a run. And then you have North Carolina, the 1 seed that isn't in my top 4, but I think they're pretty close. They get Wagner now in the first round, and we're gonna have to see how this North Carolina team can hang with these teams, because coming into the year, they were the heavy favorites, struggled for a little bit, but they found their footing late. 4 best teams I have in this year's March Madness: Tennessee, Houston, Purdue, and UConn. And of course, UConn's at number 1 because they've been the most dominant team this whole year. What haven't they done since they've won a championship? Couldn't really tell you. They've done almost everything they possibly can to put themselves in a great position to repeat. Purdue looking to revenge last year's woes, losing to the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson University. Maybe this Purdue team is going to pull a Virginia, lose to a 16 seed, and then come back and win the whole thing the next year. It's definitely possible. I think they're better than they were last year. And then Houston, 30-4 out of the Big 12. They get Longwood. Houston's been really good for the last few years since COVID. And if they can keep, getting better, and they're going to be due at one point to win a national championship if they've been this good. But Tennessee with Rick Barnes and Dalton Knecht, I think that's a team that is getting not underlooked, but I think needs to be picked more to win brackets, because if Dalton Knecht can take over a game, it's pretty much wraps for the other team, because, if he's really, really playing some good basketball, he's tough to slow down. And with all the other weapons on that team, it's tough to slow down that Tennessee team. But even if he has an off night, there are guys that can pick up the slack for him and possibly still will their way to a win. That's going to be it for my ranking of all 68 teams this year for March Madness. Come back for the Sweet 16 rankings as I'll re-rank all the teams that are left. And then stay tuned for all my picks in the later rounds for the round of 64, rounds of 32, and so on. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.